Here we are back at it again. Another night, another reaction. So today we got Jody with the wild thing, and what he's doing is presenting a video today about how the military just stopped all the foolishness. If y'all in this world and you understand that a lot of things been coming down the pipe, a lot of policy changes, a lot of stuff been getting pushed around, which a lot of people have been causing a lot of uproar about, but that's besides the fact. What I want to do today is react to this video. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Let's go.
Fake eyelashes, banned. Shaving waivers, 12 months or you're out. This isn't just policy changes, y'all. This is a generational war between Gen Z and what they like to call boomers over what the American military should be. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it looks like one side just won. There are two completely different ideas of what the military should be in 2025 and beyond. One side is the inclusive military, and this is where people believe the military should reflect modern America. So if young people are having mental health struggles, the military should accommodate them. If they want to express themselves through appearance, the military should evolve. If they're not really traditionally fit, the military should adapt to their standards. Basically, the military should be welcoming to anyone who wants to serve. And then you have
Now, before he gets to the other side, he said he's first of all, this guy said he's been in like since 2006. That's incredible and insane to me at the same time. So, Air Force guy, and he also says he's been around for to see the most recent changes, the inclusive side of the military, where they're kind of dropping standards, not dropping them, but lowering standards to where it's accommodating for a lot of people, right? You got the shaving profiles, you got the hair, the nails, the eyelashes, different things like that, the baby hairs. Well, basically, what he's saying is the military is cutting all that out. Like this administration or this new wave of people in charge, they just ain't going. So a lot of stuff getting cut out. But the inclusive side of it, this here is my perspective. What's our job as a military? One single job, right? Especially in the army, like much like the Marines. In the army, your first job is what to the enemy, right? So with that being said, is that an all-inclusive thing? I don't really think so, right? Now, what I will say is to me, when it comes down to getting the job done, me personally, I'm not in charge of nothing that high. But this is my thing. When it comes down to getting the job done, um, regardless of color, gender, what type of hair you wear, any of that appearance, can you get the job done? That's my biggest thing. Like I'm big on uniform and having a set standard across the board, but success comes in all different shapes, sizes, genders, faiths, anything like that. Success comes in different forms, is what I'm saying. So the inclusive part, I very much so understand now. Lowering or loosening your standards should never be a thing. But at the same time, it's like if I'm hurting on numbers and I need a certain amount of people, then guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna pick the best people for that job out that bunch, right? Even if I'm not hurting on numbers, even if I'm thriving. Me personally, like I say, I'm not that high up to be making those decisions, to be making those type of calls. But me, I don't care about none of that other stuff. Only thing I care about is who's the right person for the job. Now, when it comes down to the intricacies of the military and things like that, it's a lot of different things that go into that, right? Because we have a very unique role that we play in this organization. And in order to fulfill certain roles in the military, um, I'm gonna say there's a certain personality type that works best to me. To me. Now I understand, like I say, I said it before, success comes in various forms. But as a whole, to get us to where we need to be, there's a certain look, there's a certain performance, and there's a certain level of cooperation that's needed, right? So let's get back to the video, let him finish up.
should be an elite force. They believe the military exists solely to win wars, period. And standards exist for a reason. If society is getting soft, then the military should be the place where you come to become hard. They believe that the military shouldn't adapt to weaknesses. Instead, they should eliminate them. And frankly, not everyone deserves to serve. I've been in since 2006, so I've seen both sides. I've seen the inclusive side. I've seen the elite force side. I got some pros and cons about both of them. For the inclusive side, I really liked the fact that they were changing things, letting women get ponytails. They never let the guys get beards. I was kind of sad about that, but I like that stuff. But I also believe that on the elite side, that standards exist for a reason. And for the past few years, that inclusive side was being heavily emphasized inside the military. But 2024, 2025, that changed everything because recruiting finally improved and the military leaders got to see what that inclusive military, what it actually produced. And they decided that they ain't like what they found. So to understand what's happening now.
All right, I gotta agree with OG right here. I haven't been in that long. My wife was in longer than me, and she joined way before I did, and she recently been out. But I've heard a lot of people talk from my recruiters who were older than me, some around my age, and from people who've been in for a long time. Um, this is what it looks like to me. It looks like okay, we're hurting for numbers. We're gonna kind of loosen things up a little bit to get more people in to make this thing more marketable, right? To I can't say that, but to make it marketable to certain people, right? And now it's like now we got our numbers, we got what we need, we got our bodies. You back to being treated like a number. I'm gonna be honest, like that's kind of what it seems like. Okay, we're not hurting for numbers no more. We're not hurting for people. We back to treating y'all like whatever. So, like he said, when it comes to the elite side, I come from a sports background, right? I come from a sports background. So when he's talking about elite, like a championship team, what do you think about when you see that, right? If you from back in the days, then you understand like the 90s Bulls, right? That 90 to 93 Bulls. Or if you were a LBJ fan, King James, then you got the Heat when he was back there. You know what I'm saying? Or you got for you modern guys, you got Curry and the Splash Bros with the Warriors. When you think about teams like that, or football with the Patriots, when Tom Brady had his run, when you think about teams like that, what do you think about? Elite, right? And for the most part, you have a lot of people in association on this team who have the same mentality, they have the same mindset, the same goals. And what I would venture to say is because I've been on teams that have had new success, where maybe we started out with a culture of losing and then we tightened things up and we got some new leadership, and then now all of a sudden we're winning and at a rapid pace, right? This culture and this tradition of winning is been established with us. And I can tell you from being a leader on a team like that, we ain't cutting nobody no slack. Period. Period. If you ain't on what we on, if you not about what we about, we ain't trying to hear it. You up out of there. Period. I'm dead serious, bro. We ain't cutting nobody no slack. And I feel like that's what the military is getting back to now. Now we got the numbers. Now that we got everybody back, we going back to that elite force type of vibe. And I like that because I believe in our specific role and our specific job, that's what you need. And the reason why I say that, let me rumble a little bit. The reason why I say that is because just from what I understand in this short amount of time that I've been in, my short one contract, right? My limited experience in this. A lot of the younger leaders that we have now, they didn't experience the Gotwa era, right? They didn't experience the 9/11 era. Shoot, some of these people didn't wasn't even alive to experience that, right? Me being a lot older, I remember being young and experiencing this thing, but watching it on TV. A lot of the leaders that we have now wasn't there to experience that. So to get them prepared for the next conflict, we have to be going into training. We have to be going into our day-to-day tasks. We have to be going into strategizing and planning with the mindset of prepping these guys for what's to come. Right. I'm not gonna tell y'all too much about my background, but to be honest, I know I can count on me and people like me. I've been battle tested, real life. I've been battle tested. So, and I'm not saying that to that capacity, but I would like to be trained, and I feel like I am trained and I am prepared to to take on that type of encounter or experience something in that capacity, right? If that makes sense. So I like where we're going. I like for things to be like tight, like a strong, firm grip on our organization. I like it like that because when you loosen up too many things, that's when all the BS start creeping in, right? The toxic leadership, the toxic followership, people not understanding why things and why certain things are being implemented. People don't understand why we have standards, right? A lot of the cliche sayings in the military, people don't get to experience that because certain things are so lenient, right? And I think that us going back to making it an elite force where not everybody can be a part of this thing. I like that. Because like I say, I've been on teams where we're fighting to win a championship. And we just gonna be honest, man. Some people don't make it through spring training. Some people don't make it through summer workouts. Some people don't make it on the team. That's cool. That's what it is. Everybody ain't built for this. Everybody ain't meant for it, right? And just because you here don't mean you're gonna be that top guy tomorrow. An injury could come up. You're gonna be taken out. You know, you might be slacking in performance. You could get taken out. Your academics might start slipping. You're gonna get taken out. So a lot of this can be taken from you. So you can't take it for granted. You got to take advantage of it. I understand those things from growing up in sports and fighting for some a lot greater and fighting for men that's that I love and that I trust and that I want to see prosper as well. So from what he say, I like that we going back to that elite force and tighten that grip on a lot of the things that I feel like standards were a little loose in the military. All right. That's just my perspective, right? Like I say, I'm not that up high to be in charge of anything like that or make these calls. This is my opinion. But let's get back into the video. Let's keep going.
See how COVID-19 didn't just hit the military, but how it transformed all of America. So COVID had a huge impact. Remote work became a normal accommodation and gave flexibility across every institution, even the military. Mental health became a mainstream conversation. Anxiety and depression were no longer stigmatized anymore. And the idea that institutions should adapt to people rather than the people adapting to institutions became dominant. This cultural shift hit the military too, right when they were dealing with their own COVID crisis. Because of COVID, fitness tests were being suspended. People didn't have to do PT for a little while. Training was disrupted. Recruiting moved online. They weren't even seeing their applicants face to face anymore. Everything was through like Zoom. The military was basically looking around at corporate America and saw how they were doing things and said, why can't we? Society was saying, meet people where they are. And so the military was like, you know what? We're going to try that out. So they created a bunch of inclusive military policies. The appearance standards became a little bit more relaxed. There was more lenient grooming. There was more cosmetics allowed. The Air Force started letting people get tattoos behind their ear. It was weird. The Army created a future soldier prep course in 2022, and it was designed to help recruits who did not meet their standards, whether it be physically, whether it be not passing the ASVAB. They even loosened up on their medical and mental health issues, allowing more accommodations for people to serve. The logic of it all seemed sound at the time. If the rest of America was becoming more accommodating and flexible, maybe the military should too. And this helped more people qualify ever than before, and we met the generation where they are. But the military kind of had to do this because they were having a hard time meeting goal. During that COVID-19 time, nobody wanted to join, and the people who did want to join were not really that qualified. So this was kind of an effect of COVID happening and the military trying to continue to put people into the military. But there was a problem that nobody wanted to talk about. And here's where the military's COVID-19 response kind of collided with reality. By 2024, about 24% of the Army's recruits came through that future soldier prep course, meaning 1 in 4 people needed some type of remedial training before they could even start going to basic training.
Let's chop it up on the real too about that because I mentioned that earlier about the leniency and standards and things like that. Now, I think he said 1 in 4 of the soldiers who were coming from the future soldier prep course. Now, the mean people where they are thing, I love that when you're trying to be a mentor or when you're trying to lead and guide others in other aspects of life, right? But this what I'm gonna say. Because I'm sorry, I come from a competitive background. Mean people where they are is a lot of times when you're trying to reach like new heights, You got to come down. And you might be thinking like, what's the issue with that? So say if I'm gonna take it from something simple. Say if I'm doing calisthenics or I'm doing weightlifting, right? If I'm a guy in the weight room and I'm pushing up 315 and I can do this 5 to 10 reps, and then there's a guy coming in who needs help benching the bar. Now, if you take me and say, hey, I want you to train this guy to be where you at, we finna have a huge problem. We finna have a huge problem because now I'm taking time out. I'm taking time out, me getting better, and I'm trying to go and meet this guy where he is. Now, if I'm doing that as a coach, that's different. If I'm doing that in my spare time, that's different. But when I'm taking time out my literal day, like my actual training regimen and schedule, to go and do this, now you see how that's hindering me. In business, I don't think that's a bad idea. But when it comes to a fighting force, meeting people where they are, like they say, like we're having to do remedial training and get these people up to standard before they even join. Now, this is where it becomes an issue for me, right? In my limited experience. Again, what happens is these people who already don't have that baseline, that core discipline within themselves, those people who just doing this willy-nilly on some random little thing, and they don't really care about the people or the organization in itself. What they're gonna do is when you let them out of basic and AIT and they get to their first duty station, they're gonna lose all that stuff they lost, they gained in basic. It's just the fact. I'm gonna say, like, even for myself, like in basic, I was running like 14-minute 2 miles. Now I'm in like 15:30s, 15:50. Like all the way down bad. I done picked up like 20 pounds since basic, right? And most of it is muscle, but still at the same time, I'm not able to still uphold them same standards. Like in AIT on the ACFT, I was scoring like 595. Now it's like 590, 588, which is still decent, but it's not a 595. You see what I'm saying? And I was nowhere near as muscular or big as I am now, right? And not saying that I let up on my standards, but standards and freedom came into place, right? Not that the standards changed, but trade-off and where you are now, your duty station is a lot different. And also the freedom to eat what you want, to do what you want, to go home at night and be able to have all these certain types of freedoms, you're going to lose a lot of that, right? So if you're taking people who are not meaning basic stuff, height and weight, core understanding about being the basics of being a soldier, right? Basic soldiering, customs and courtesies, things like that. When you have to take these people and constantly retrain as a force, I feel like that's taking us back, right? Especially if it's 1 out of 4 people. You get what I'm saying? You may get 4 people that come to your platoon rapidly, right? And that one person may take a lot of time from other leaders to get this person up to par and get this person up to speed, right? And sometimes, let's be honest, we don't have time for that. We don't have time for it. You might be like, what do y'all have besides time? Like, you're a soldier 24/7. But I'm gonna tell y'all like this: when you're in the field or when you're doing training or you're teaching classes and things like that, you don't have time to just stop and try to catch this person up who's a freaking who's a cancer to the team. Right. I'm gonna say like my coach used to say, you just don't have time for this. So when you're trying to implement things like that, that's just where it becomes an issue, right? My bad for rambling, y'all, but that's just something that I've seen with the leniency and having to meet people where they are and bring them up to standards as a fighting force. In business, in personal, that's way different. It's way different. As a mentor, that's way different. But when it comes to us as a fighting force, you, like, let's be honest, man. You wouldn't want your favorite sports team doing that. So let's get back to the video and let's see what else he got. Loving it so far.
And getting in shape, or whether it be passing the ASVAB. But while corporate America could afford to be more flexible by accommodating remote work, mental health days, relaxed dress codes, the military discovered something crucial. It's not a corporation, it's a fighting force. So when Google accommodates different work styles, the worst that can happen is maybe some lower productivity. But when the military starts accommodating lower standards, people can die. And then you had people starting to point out all the disconnect. Medical and grooming waivers were stacking up. Everybody started getting beards. When I joined the Air Force, the only people who had a shaving waiver were pretty much black people because of a condition called pseudophilitis barbae, basically where your ingrown hairs curl back into your skin. And this is very prevalent in black men. But then, like in 2019, 2020, out of nowhere, I started seeing everybody have a beard. I'm talking everybody getting on shaving waivers. It just kind of loosened up and started allowing pretty much everybody to get them. Kind of ruined it. Then you start seeing physical fitness centers dropping and people still having a hard time trying to pass them. And then ultimately deployability rates suffered as these accommodations became more permanent rather than temporary. So then you got to start asking yourself, what happens when societal accommodation culture meets an institution that exists solely to win wars? America adopted this meet people where they are mentality, but at the adversaries like China and Russia, they weren't doing this. They were maintaining or even raising their standards while America was kind of widening theirs. And that's when these leaders said, you know what, I'm fed up, we've had enough. By the end of 2024, the military leaders began making hard decisions. The Army, the Air Force, the Marines, Space Force, the Coast Guard, they all said we had enough. The Army introduced this new PT test called the ACFT, the Army Combat Fitness Test. Supposedly it's really hard. They also said that nobody can have indefinite shaving waivers anymore. You got to get off the shaving waiver within 12 months or they're going to put you out of the military. They got rid of eyelashes, those big long eyelashes that the girls were having, they can't have them anymore. You saw this happen in the Army, then all of a sudden the Air Force is like, yeah, we're doing it too. The Air Force did the same stuff. And now no one across the DOD can have a beard longer than 12 months. This is not just the Army anymore. This is the entire DOD. The Air Force is going to be implementing harder PT standards in basic training. They're cracking down on dress and appearance and holding people accountable, making sure that they look good in their uniform. They even limited the nail polish to clear, French, or American manicure styles only. That's it. A lot of people are pissed off about it. And then in March 2025, the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered a full review of grooming, fitness, and readiness standards across the entire DoD. And this message was pretty clear that the inclusive experiment had gone too far. But here's what this really means for America and the military. I don't think this is just a military policy. I believe it's a cultural signal about the two different sides and the two different philosophies. That inclusive side pushed for changes because of real challenges that COVID-19 caused. And then the other side, the elite side, argues that readiness and lethality are non-negotiable. And that...
All right. A little bit about what he just said again. About them cracking down on things again and implement new things in basic, right? For me, it's not really new. Like I didn't go to basic like a long time ago, like a lot of people. And shout out to Fort Jackson, Delta 213. I'm gonna be honest, man. Like as me coming from a sports background, like I've restated a bunch of times. I was a lot older, like 10 years older than the youngest, recruit or trainee that was coming in. And in Delta 213 at Fort Jackson in basic training, they weren't going. They weren't going, bro, for nothing. Nothing. I ain't lying. I had a senior drill sergeant who was a former Marine sniper. Then the other guy, another drill sergeant I had, he was a former ranger, like, had his scroll and all of that. And then we had another guy who was airborne, air assault, and could run like a freaking cheetah, man. So, like, I ain't gonna lie. To me, the standard was high. It was up top, man. We had great drill sergeants, and they were very strict, like very, very strict. I don't know where they got this new stuff from where they talk about you can't talk to people like this and you can't toss beds. Because when I was there, they was doing all of that, like talking bad to you. I'm not lying. Like some stuff you hear people in the street say to each other. And then at the same time, yeah, you come in and this stuff slung all over the floor, your notebook out, your locks everywhere, your shoes tossed up, the shoestrings out your boots, man, your bed flipped upside down, drawers. Man, they take drawers out and put them downstairs, bro. Like they played all kind of little mental games with you when I was there. They didn't care. I ain't gonna lie, man. Like to the point where white phase, if y'all know what white phase is, those of you who are in, we stood up the entire white phase to eat, to drink water, to do anything. We didn't sit down until it was bedtime. I'm not lying. We stood up for everything, bro. And it was annoying. It was aggravating. But yeah, they was calling it relaxing Jackson when you watch YouTube and stuff. And I was like, it wasn't no relaxing that. It was not playing. And neither was I, because I'm built for it. But because I say that just because I've heard a lot of the commentary about how basic is soft and all that. I don't know about as a whole, but for where I was and the group I was with when I came through, it wasn't nothing like that. Nothing like that. Like they weren't playing no games, man. So yeah, I like, again, I like that we're going back to that. I respect the fact that we are cracking down on those standards, because the only thing I can remember that people were a lot very much lenient about was the shaving thing. And that's because even though I do have a shaving profile, I still shave. Like, I use the shaving powder. I cannot put a razor on my face. But yeah, that's the only thing that they was really like lenient about. Like, hey, your face is effed up. Go get a shaving profile. Right? You still gonna shave, but it's gonna tell you to keep it down to a certain length, and it's gonna tell you how often you should shave. Not that you come in this formation and you don't shave at all, or have a beard or nothing crazy like that. But it's going to be manageable, right? And I respected that a lot about them, because they could see the discomfort, they could see my issue, and they helped out with that. So shout out to them drill stones for that. But other than that, they wouldn't cut no slack, bro. Cut no slack at all. I can't necessarily agree. Maybe they just hearing comments, or maybe they just hearing from the drill song. Because you know what, every generation before, oh, my days were so hard, my days. You might want to hear all that, but everybody got their own heart. And not saying that for us is more difficult than our forefathers, because it's not. It's way easier. But you know how everybody, yeah, like even from bodybuilding to sports and anything like that. Like, all right, people try to make it seem like every generation just has it softer than the other. Everybody has their own unique struggles in different times, right? But that's besides the point. Let's get back to the video, and let's finish it up.
This current great power competition, these qualities aren't optional. So in my mind, I feel like both sides have valid points. The inclusive approach helps thousands of people join who probably would never have been able to join. But now because of that, we're having people who are having a hard time staying in. I think that they may have gone a little bit too far with the standards, but whatever side you're on, their verdict is in. That Elite Four side, they won. At least in policy, because that inclusion side, they just lost all their ground. The rules are going to be tighter, the waivers are shrinking, the standards are rising again. And I know that there's a lot of people who wanted to serve who may not join anymore because of the standards rising again. Is it perfect? No. Will there be some fallout? Absolutely. But right now, that battle has been lost, and it's going to be more to come in 2006 as the military starts moving forward. I'm really curious to know where you all stand in this. Do you feel like the military should prioritize the inclusion, or do you feel like, nah, the military is a military and the standard should always be at the highest level, even if it means excluding more Americans from the service? I want to see what you all think in the comments. But if you want to see more about how these standards are going to affect the Air Force and make the Air Force harder than it's ever been, I got a video on the screen right now breaking all that down. But like I always say, I hope this video brought value to you. Stay beautiful, stay classy, and until next time, check me out.
All right, like I said, shout out to him. Shout out to the video, shout out to his channel. And he wants to know our thoughts. I don't know about our, but I'm gonna tell you my thoughts. This is the thing, right? He said the elite side won, as they should have. Should we focus on a more inclusive army? I'm gonna say no. And I'm gonna drop a little something out there, and I'm gonna say one word that's gonna get you through a lot of the BS. The word is compliance. Like, let's be honest. Like, let's just let me drop the facade. Let me drop all the BS. The word is compliance. Comply. Because if you don't, you're gonna have a rough time. That's in life. But I must also say this. I feel like on the civilian side, when it comes to that as well, it's to me, it's way more competitive than what we're doing now. The stakes are higher for us, because if you lose in what we doing, that's your life. In civilian world, if you lose, you just go try again. Like, how many CEOs or how many business owners or founders went bankrupt the first time they tried their endeavors, or they handed that, and they came back and tried it again and again and again, and it worked. Ain't no respawning in the military. Like, if you get caught lagging, as you like, you done. Like, hey, finito. Ain't no coming back. So the stakes are higher, and that's why I say no. The inclusive thing, nah, drop all that, man. Drop all that, because if you can't, to me, for a lot of things. If you can't follow simple rules that contribute to your well-being and your success, when these stakes are so high, man, like you letting a lot of people down. You letting a lot of families down, a lot of mothers, a lot of fathers, brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, uncles. You letting a lot of people down, right? And that's the thing that I don't like. And you can like, even if you find some of my people, but they'll tell you I'm like this for real in real life. I'm like this, man. I take my health, my life, everything about me as this. I take it so serious because I know that anytime we could get that call, and if it came down to it, I'm gonna be the one you can count on for sure, 1,000,000%. And I say that because one, outside of this, I'm battle tested. In this, I'm gonna be battle tested, and I'm gonna rise to the occasion every time. All right, I'm just being honest. So that's my thoughts about it. Yes, crack down, man. The inclusion. I like that we do have inclusivity in certain parts. I do respect that, and I like that about the top leadership that we have. Like you can't do nothing but respect that. Like they tried their hand at it, but like he said, and like I said in the beginning of the video, as a fighting force, as a fighting force, where we're going against the enemy, and our main job is to that to them. No, no, you can't just have no anybody and everybody in this. We all got to have somewhat of similar intentions and like-mindedness and similar goals when it comes to a force that's going out and fighting the enemy. We just have to, man. That's just the way it is. And I'm not saying that I agree or disagree with inclusivity or exclusion or anything, but out there, yeah, you getting excluded. They looking for ways. They're not looking for ways to include you in a top corporation. They're not looking for ways to include. They're not. They're looking for ways to exclude you, right? The weak not gonna survive there. In sales, especially, like that's the hardest job. You get into sales, they're not looking for more ways to include you. It's a high turnover rate. Um, it's a high failure rate. They're not looking for ways to include more people. They're trying to find the people that stand out, and they're trying to find that needle in the haystack and bring them people up to the top, right? You got all these other different things that don't really contribute to your talents or your skills as a worker, as an employee, as a contractor, that determine you getting a job. So they're not looking for ways to include you at all in corporate America. Not one bit. Everybody got degrees now. Everybody got licenses. Everybody got certs, and they don't care. They don't care. They're looking for the best of the best. And they're looking for something that's already tried and true, which is why they want you to have multiple years of experience for a basic job, right? They're not looking for ways to include you. So us as a military, we got to look at that too. And like if you look at things like soft, they're not trying to include everybody. The attrition rate is so high in some of these selections, like it's freaking ridiculous. Not ridiculous because it's for a good reason. But what I'm saying is, no, man, like when it comes to this, you can't, no. No, we can't rock like that, at least in my opinion. So that's enough for me rambling. I've been going on for a long time here, y'all. Let me know what you think about it. Do you think inclusion is a good thing in the military? Or do you think, like he say, we need to go back to that elite status, that big dog stuff? I think so. That's just me. That's just me being in it, looking at it subjectively. That's just me. All right. And I have nothing more for y'all. Y'all have a great day. I'm out.